Good evening. I'm Socrates, Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here in the African-American-owned broadcasting studio. We believe digital.com, our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again. Good evening, and welcome to Socrates Garrett Live. We're broadcasting right here from Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, where we believe that one day the South will rise again. And if it does, black folk will be at the helm. We will be directing, calling the shots, making the decisions on how it's going to rise again. Because others have had the opportunities now for over 300 years. And look where we are today. So this show is being brought to you live from Jackson, Mississippi, in a broadcast studio that's second to none. And we're broadcasting on WeBelieveDigital.com, our own platform. We're broadcasting live on Facebook at We Believe Digital Podcast. You can find us on YouTube at We Believe Digital. Find us on Roku TV at We Believe Global. Listen to us live at WMPR radio station, 100,000 watts of broadcast power. So the message is getting out. We're getting the message out. We're getting the crying call out for those individuals of like mind to join this movement so that we can make the South rise again. You can call in tonight. The telephone number is 800-492-5186. We'd love to hear your comments, and if you have some pertinent information on how we're going to change things, we'd love to have that as well. As always, my co-host is with me, Dr. Eldridge Henderson, a young man that has done some mighty things in this community and is full of knowledge and understanding and a lot of solutions how we turn things around. Good evening, Dr. Henderson. It's good to see you again.
Thank you, Mr. Garrett. I'm pleased to be here again. Thank you very much.
Well, it's always good to have you here, and we're going to get right into the show. There are some things going on in our community and other communities across the country that we've got to deal with. One of those things that you mention often is this urban decay and violence in our urban cities. Talk to us a little bit about how and why it's there and what we must do.
Well, the process is a continuous process since 1554 in America for this violence in what we call certain communities. Now let's look at the recent time. I don't care too much about the past. We are looking at what is happening now in America, and especially in these cities. And the violence that is being addressed is very, very negative. Addressing the violence in Mississippi, in the city of Jackson, in the other big cities, are nothing but people talking about it, not putting monies and programs in place to eliminate the problem and duplicate exactly what is happening in the middle class and upper middle class community with the same youth, the same age. What is happening in the upper class communities? They have good schools. The young people have jobs. They have good political people that are looking out for the programs they need in those communities. Education programs, summer programs, internships, scholarships, foreign programs. They have programs that are set up for the drug addicts. A lot of the upper-class boys and girls don't have to go to prison when they get hooked on drugs. They get under a training program. The inner-city young people get hooked on drugs, or not even hooked, just sell a little bit, and they go to jail 5, 10, 15, or 30 years.
Well, Dr. Henderson, we've had this problem for some time. Now, I'm a strong believer that African Americans has got to look in the mirror. We have to say that we are our worst enemies. We have created a situation for ourselves now that keeps us bound in the position on the bottom in our communities that's dominated with African American leadership. All of those things would be nice if we had that in a poor city. And Jackson, Mississippi is one of these poor urban cities where over 40% of your population is below the poverty levels. And so, but we have all African American leadership. Now, Dr. Henderson,
yes, sir.
Black folk created this problem for themselves, or let me put it another way, black leadership has not rectified the problem when they had the opportunity. Would you agree?
I would agree 100%. And the reason they are not doing it, Mr. Garrett, is because no one is expecting them to do it, number one. And number two, no one is demanding that they do it. And the bad part about it, this situation is getting worse because every time we vote in these urban areas, especially in the inner city areas, the voting population is increasing, but the voting is decreasing. And that is getting now to 13, 15, 18% of the registered voters that are voting. And the politicians don't fear anyone anymore. They can do whatever they want to do.
Certainly they can. They can do whatever they want to do because our people are now engaged in what I call a silent protest, a passive protest. In the churches, when our folk have said, when we have done all we know how to do, then we just stand. Our people are just standing. It's not that it's voter apathy, it's a protest against black leadership and the benefits that they're receiving back from that leadership. And until we correct that, people are going to continue to decline to go to these polls, because for them, nothing ever changes.
That's right. You know, a poor man doesn't worry too much about the future. So if he is eating today and sleeping today, or half eating and sleeping, if he wakes up tomorrow, he's basically going to do the same thing. He's not going to make an effort to change his status in the neighborhood or the community at all in most cases. And if there's no one pushing him, providing opportunities for him or her, they're going to continue to get worse. And as you know, when a poor man, a poor woman, has unlimited opportunities, they are usually going to be stressed out to the point where the progress they make will be negative. Number one, they're going to get involved in usually some type of criminal activity. Number two, they're going to have more and more children. Number three, they're not going to have any kind of positive family structure, and everything will get worse, worse, and worse. And if we don't have some elected officials, corporate leaders, and community organizations to get together with specific programs in education, training, community development, and parenting, we are not going to have nothing but a doomed future. And we got to understand clearly, which you don't want to hear, that you must exclude the school system, because we're not going to get any help there to solve the problems that we have. It's not designed to solve problems in the black community. The public school system throughout America is designed to perpetuate the problems in the inner city and what I call the rural area. Now, that is a fact.
Well, yeah, I will disagree with you, because if we don't get the training that we need in our school system, if we don't educate our children, if we don't elevate their self-esteem, then our future is really doomed. And you say that we have less than 9 years to correct this.
That's exactly right.
And why do you say that?
Well, because, see, there are certain areas of activity that will determine your destiny from birth to death. There are certain things that black folks must control from birth to death. 5 areas. One is education and training. The other one is religion. The third one is economic development. The fourth one is principles of leadership. And man, these politicians are going crazy throughout the country. And the last one is politics. Now, if you don't have your resources together in this order, you must get that education and training. You must get involved in some kind of moral upgrades. You must get some economic development activity for yourself, your family, and your community. And then you can get involved in politics. I told you many times, poor folks don't get involved in politics very much. And poor candidates that are run for office shouldn't be in office if they can't have means to support themselves with other than their salary.
It seems to me in the African American community, we elect individuals that have been civil rights icons or great advocates for social justice. We don't elect individuals that possess the leadership skills to manage budgets of $300 million, $200 million. Not knowing how to read a balance sheet, not understanding the profit and loss, not understanding cash flow, not understanding budget, it's not understanding all of the things that are required to run an enterprise that large. You would not go to a doctor for a heart transplant that had never done one before. And so we take these people from an advocacy role and we put them in charge of a budget of which they know absolutely nothing about.
That's historical.
And so we continue to do that, and the reason we do that is because our folk have been mistreated so badly over the years until we still fighting an invisible enemy. We're fighting the white man when the white man is basically left us to ourselves in the inner city. It wouldn't even take over Jackson public school system when it met all of the criteria for a takeover.
You know why, don't you?
No, why?
Well, I tell you, it's very simple. If you do the research, you'll find it. Now, this is not a secret. Most people knew that the governor and others wouldn't take over Jackson public school system because those young students that live in the inner city would be enrolling in the metropolitan schools all around Jackson, public schools. And that is a no-no.
You mean that it's black population, Jackson Public Schools is probably 85% black, not more.
More.
And it's the largest school district, second largest school district in the state now. Are you saying that those 30,000 students would have gone to white schools in Rankin and Madison counties?
Yeah, they're public schools.
Public schools.
Their parents would have had to put them there because that's where the opportunities are. And you would have been surprised at the rejection and the turmoil they would have faced in those situations. And the people that control the budgets and the decisions and policies say, we're going to leave these Negroes, these coloreds, these poor folks right where they are, and we're going to let them manage themselves. We're going to lock them out and put them in what I call the containment zone, and just let them stir the pot themselves.
Well,
they'll be all right. They'll be all right.
I think the governor did Jackson a great disservice. We need a lot more resources in the Jackson public school system. When we lose the top 10% of our population moved out of Jackson and took those smart children with them, it put our school district in a situation where it's now got to try to maintain and compete with other districts throughout the state with a population that's all have to have public service, food programs, poverty, coming to school, not being nutritionally sound, and economically deprived, and yet you want them to do well in school. That's not fair.
It can't happen. It just cannot happen. A hungry kid in a dysfunctional family, where his family is disunited, many of the young people you're talking about are homeless, over 14,000 in the Jackson Public Schools, another 1,000 or two or more living with the grandparents or great-grandparents. Very few in the inner city have fathers in the home, And there is nothing but a culture of failure, and it's not going to get any better anytime soon unless the black politicians learn how to be statesmen and not politicians, learn how not to become so selfish as many of them are, where they don't have any policies and procedures in place to attack the problems that are in their communities, and they are saying, I want to get more visibility. I want more power. But they are not putting programs together to combat these ills. I call them the community ills.
Right.
And they don't have to.
Hold your point right there. We're broadcasting live from Jackson, Mississippi. You can call in at 800-492-5186. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Roku TV, and our own We Believe digital platform. We're going to take a break for this commercial, and we'll be right back.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
We're back, and you can call in at 800-492-5186 and join this discussion. Dr. Hendricks.
Yes, sir.
White folk in Mississippi and throughout the country have probably moved on. They have determined that African Americans will carry out their objectives and their goals better than they could carry them out themselves. And while we control $1 billion in the economy, $330 million at the city, $300 million, $50 million at Jackson Public Schools, $260 million at the Airport Authority and Hines County Board of Supervisors, and yet there's no economic development, no growth in our community. The dollars continue to go to white folk in the bedroom communities outside of Jackson. So there's no need to have any white people here. We take care of their business better than they were taking care of themselves. Dr. Henderson, we got a call. Let's take that one. Caller, you're on the air.
Good evening, gentlemen. I just have a quick question. And I know you all are talking about the economic portion now, but I want to go back to the education portion. When Mr. Garrett, you were saying that our children need to be educated, and Dr. Henderson was saying that it's by design that, you know, that the school systems are like they are. What can the parents do, you know, to get more involved in the curriculum that the students are learning? Or is it nothing that the parents can do at all?
Yeah, the parents can always do something, ma'am. One thing they can do is start volunteering to work in the school system as aides and volunteers if it's nothing but one day a month. Other things they can do is get on these various committees, curriculum committees and other committees that the school have, PTA, PTO, or whatever you want to call it, and find out what the curriculum is, how it's set up, and start advocating through the Parent Teachers Association, through the Board of Education on the local level and the superintendent, and change some of the programs so they can have student-centered programs that's not going to require a high school diploma, but require, we mentioned this last week, work keys and high-skill training that will give a job to these young people once they meet certain certifications and they can make more than a minimum wage. That's what the parents have to do.
Well, caller, are you there, caller?
Yes, I am.
What do you think that parents have to do?
Well, I definitely think they have to be more involved, like Dr. Henderson is saying. But, you know, when we're talking about socioeconomic status and parents being more involved, sometimes they can't because they're trying to work and they're working, you know, multiple jobs to try to sustain their family. So being more active in their child's life may not be an option. So, you know, it's kind of like it's just a cycle that repeats itself and it's just hard to get out of it.
We're in a bad situation, Carla. There's so many broken homes. The family structure has been destroyed. Black males have been eliminated out of the picture almost entirely and are serving no real useful purpose in the community and in today's environment. Until we rebuild a family structure, it's going to be hard for these children to make a move out of their current social economic status to middle class or to anything resembling of that. I don't know what the answer is going to be. Dr. Henderson has given us some great programs, but I think our situation is dire. I think it's so critical that we're going to lose this generation, and the generations after that are going to suffer even more than they are suffering today. I'm sorry to be so negative.
Well, Cole, I want to tell you that since we just made it known again, it is no secret that the family structure is gone in the black community in the inner city and urban areas. But the thing that you must look at is there is a potential for hope, Mr. Garrett, and that is community organizations can provide programs through the churches, education programs, literacy programs, financial literacy programs, skill-based programs.
Hold your thought. Thank you for calling, caller. We're going to go to the next call. Caller, you're on the line.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the program this evening. And the topic is very timely, but I do want to say that, the patterns, the precepts, and the principles have already been established. And what we have to do is align ourselves with the process. The process has already been established because we have many successful black people now, but I would dare say that probably over 90% of them would say that their success is rooted and grounded and anchored in the church. And because think about it now, we didn't have social workers, lawyers, but that minister was the social worker, that minister was the lawyer, made contact with people for one. So we have to respect our institutions, and the church and the black community did a lot. They were in the forefront. I think about the gentleman up in Lexington, was it? He took a shot in the brain one Saturday afternoon, getting ready to go and get his clothes out of the cleaners. So the preachers were in the forefront, and I thank God for them. Now, you do have to be careful where you are. You want the word, the truth, and nothing but the truth. But I also want to say this, and applaud the Jackson Public School system for, now, to say that all the smart children left, I don't agree with that. Many children are poor. I was one of them. But if you go to that place, and many of them are going, and I applaud their parents who are going up and down 20 and 80 and working fervently and diligently each day. We have some very smart students in JPS. JPS is, let's look at the situation as a possibility and not so much talk about the negative aspects of it, because there's a lot of potential here, even in the economic system, with people like Mr. Garrett and Dr. Henderson. You are having classes and educating the people. God has placed you. You have a ministry to inform people of what you know. Your anointing is making money. Inform others, and that's what you're doing, and I thank God for you. But I'm a strong advocate for public schools, especially JPS, and we need to applaud them. There are many great students here. They have a great future, and some of our students and parents, just think about this, how people used to really work hard, didn't have much, but they supported the church. And I believe they did that because they wanted their children, they wanted their grandchildren, they wanted their nieces and nephews and great-grands to have a place where they could assemble, because they are the church, where they could assemble and learn values and learn principles, precepts, and patterns. And we need to, some of them just to go back to the house, wherever it is, West Jackson, East Jackson, North Jackson. But the people are waiting. They're there.
Okay.
And some of these churches are doing great work, but they don't have to broadcast it, but they're doing great work.
Thank you.
Pastors and leaders. So I thank God for you all.
Thank you so much, Carla. We always appreciate when someone corrects something that we're said here, and I would agree with you that they are great, smart kids in Jackson Public Schools, even though I stand by the fact that we've lost too many to the suburbs. So black folk have, not only did we experience white flight, we experienced black flight. But thanks again for calling, Carla. Dr. Henderson.
Yes, sir.
You know, we got a situation here where at the Hinds County Board of Supervisors meeting last week, we had African Americans leaders arguing and fighting and shoving chairs and just being totally crazy, disruptive. And it sent a message and it sent a signal to everybody that was watching. In the white community, they were saying these Negroes can't govern. We told you they could not lead, they cannot govern. We just leave them alone, they'll self-destruct and they'll turn on themselves and they'll actually harm themselves if we give them enough room. Our kids are saying, these adults can't tell me anything. How are you going to tell me how to act when you're acting the way you're acting as adults and supposed to be leaders? Our business community is suffering because it never participates in the economic side of what the county ought to be pushing back out to the community. And so how are we going to fight through this situation that we're in with a lack of leadership, a lack of decorum at the leadership level?
Well, it's going to have to be changed to the point where community leaders, just a few, 5, 7, or 9, form a coalition, not an organization, but a coalition, and go down to Hinds County supervisors with a re-education program where they're going to talk to them about their duties and responsibilities, talk to them about conflict resolution, and let them know they're going to have to be retrained and refocused and start doing something for the community and spending the money in a manner where some of the things that we have talked about, jobs for youth, family structure, jobs for these people that are getting out of prison, training programs beyond high school for those that not attending college where they can get skill level training and get a job. And or say this is going to be happening when you get this refocusing, or we are going to get this same committee and we are going to guarantee that you will not be in office after this term is served. But at the same time, we are going to have a community vote of confidence on each one of you. And we are going to show you that you have no respect in the community, and we're going to ask you to resign and say you are going to leave to help your family because you need some kind of inner mental, what I call, upkeep, and we want to do better. So you need to disappear.
Are we going to ask all of them to resign?
Well, sir, here's one thing I've learned.
Okay.
You can ask all to resign, but they are not. You get rid of 2 or 3 of them with a vote of no confidence. They will finally leave, and the other 3 or 2 vote them out of office. Sometimes you have people in office too long in various positions. They get tired of one, they'll go and get in another one. You don't see anything they've done that's effective in any position for years of public service. And they run from place to place. They might be with the legislature 5 or 10 or 15 years. Might be with the city government 5 or 10 years. Might be with the county supervisors 5 or 10 years. They might be with the fire department, the police department, all public servants. The criminal activities increase. More houses were burned down during their tenure. More and more young people got killed. And these same groups been in office for 25 and 30 years, and as soon as they get out, their sons, daughters, and mothers and wives get their positions.
Wow.
And you have the continuation of what I call a bunch of evil doers in office that's promoting the same non-programs to help elevate the community.
And when you can't replace people through the election process because we have this voter protest that's going on. Our black folk are beat down to the point where they're not coming out to the polls because they don't see anything, any hope for themselves. They are hopeless people. And when you got hopeless people, you're going to have high crime. You're going to have all of these negative things going on in the community because in reality, they say they have nothing to live for. Because I'm looking at the way you're being treated and I'm looking the way they are doing things in our community. And I see I don't want no parts of that. I might as well do what I'm doing. And so we can't replace these people through the election process, and we don't have a recall law in the state of Mississippi. We're almost doomed to continue this dysfunction as a race until the white folk take it back over.
Well,
I know I'm dropping a lot on you with that, but I want you to disagree with it. I want you to tell me how we're going to do it. But I got to get ready to go to this station break in just a moment. But we are broadcasting live right here in Jackson, Mississippi, where the South will certainly rise again. Call in at 800-492-5186. We're broadcasting live on our own platform, WeBelieveDigital.com. We're on Facebook at We Believe Digital Podcast. Find us at YouTube at We Believe Digital, and Roku TV as well. Call 800-492-5186, option 1 to advertise. Stay tuned, we'll be right back.
COVID's pioneering coronavirus protocol firm, SGE COVID Solutions, is paving the way forward for a safer city government, delivering cutting-edge biosecurity and biosafety protocols which have been developed internationally by top virologists and scientists, using an all-natural cleaning solution that kills COVID-19 on contact like no other product on the international market. Let SGE COVID Solutions provide innovative, rapid facilities testing and world-class, state-of-the-art bio-risk safety protocols for all of your coronavirus needs.
Back in the studio, we're having a very difficult conversation because we're talking about the failure of black elected officials to have the ability to lead and change the conditions of their people. It's a tough conversation. We're talking about family members. We're talking about friends and neighbors, all in the African American community. The problem today lies squarely on the shoulder of the African American elected officials. But now believe this, our hope also resides in the African Americans' future elected officials, because we cannot turn back. There is nobody else to turn to. We have to develop leadership skills within our own people. Let's take this call, Dr. Henderson. Caller, you're on the air.
Thank you for taking my call. What do we do when we have elected officials to come out and view our area, see that our roads are bad, talking about out here in the county, roads in this area, and they promise us all of these things, but then they fail in delivering. So what do? I mean, vote them out of office? Yeah, that sounds good, but is that really the logical thing?
Well, caller, we got to have change. Now, you got to either have change within the individuals that are currently there, or you got to have change by bringing on new people. But something's got to change. It's not okay to not have your roads repaired. It's not okay for that not to happen. But then we got to take it a step further, Carl, and this is critically important. Not only do we want our roads repaired, but we want black folk to repair our roads. We want to put the economics in our communities. We cannot continue to have taxation without representation. I mean, that's why they threw the T in the harbor over in Boston in the very beginning. So, caller, it's not okay. We got to change the individual by making them change their habits, and they can change their habits, or we got to replace them.
Yeah, I agree with you. We've had 6 current supervisors that done the same thing, so I don't know.
Well, we've had we've had a failure. We have a catastrophic failure with African American elected officials. I, as an African American business person, I did tremendously better under white leadership than I'm currently doing under black leadership. I do no business with Hinds County, and we're the largest African American owned contractor in Hinds County. Not only do we do no work there, we don't even talk to anybody down there about doing any work because we know that they are against that. They are taking care of the white man's rules and regulations and Robert's Rules of Order and all of these purchasing policies and procedures that white folk put in place to make sure that they continue to get all of the benefits of this economy. And our folk are defending that position, talking about they can't change anything. They don't have the option. Yes, you do have the option. Caller, I thank you for calling. We're going to continue to work on this until we come up with a solution.
Thank you for taking my call.
All right. Now, Dr. Henderson, what we want African Americans out there to know, black folk, elected folk, leadership matters. We want you to know that when we see effective leadership, things change. We get rid of the bickering. We don't have fights, and we don't have scrimmages, and we don't have posturing, and we don't talk about one another. We don't call each other out of our names. We get to work and we do things that are benefiting our people. And we see change in our community. Now, I'm going to take you to one little example, Doc, and I want you to help me with this.
Okay.
Deion Sanders came in here in a program that had not won a championship game, had not even been representative in the SWAC. Alcorn dominated the SWAC for the last 5 or 6 years, and Jackson State did not have a program. Deion came in here in 1 year. He started to work on his program. The second year, not his 8th term, but the second year, his program went 11-2. It lost in the Celebration Bowl over in Atlanta for the national championship. One man turned that around in 2 years. So an elected official can do that. But something really bigger than that happened, Doc, and our people don't know what it was. Deion Sanders didn't win football games. Deion Sanders shocked the world. And he shocked the world when he got the top-ranked athlete to sign with Jackson State University. Now that sent shocks throughout America, because if black folk can control their own destiny, if black folk can bring their children back, because we lost them in integration, Doc.
That's right.
If black folk bring their children back into where we train and teach them, maybe they won't be such disjointed leaders. Maybe they have a foundation. Maybe they understand our history and the suffering that we went through and are continuing to go through. Deion messed with the economics. When that young man signed with Jackson State, that was $100 million loss to Florida, of Florida A&M. The economics flowed with that. Don't think that's going unnoticed. Did you pay attention to that?
I most certainly did.
What's your thought?
My thought is that's one of the best things that happened with black people. Too many years have passed where the black parents been told by the white coaches, you get on my team, and I'm going to make sure your son is going to be taken care of when he goes to school. But he didn't tell them that he will make sure that they get an education. We're going to get your son, we're going to train him, we're going to feed him well, and if he continues to do as he's done in high school, he'll be playing pro ball in 2 or 3 years. And soon as this young man gets hurt, he is put in the regular school program and he flunks out the current semester because he is not trained to be in an educated, competitive structure. He never had that opportunity in middle school. If he was a good football player, a good basketball player in middle school, he got promoted. I told you a few weeks ago that he was good in high school, he got promoted. And if you did not qualify for these big schools, and I hate to admit it again, these guys are recruited, and the girls too, in the 12th grade, this first or the second semester, and put in private academies or private schools and given specific tutors, and I'm going to mention this from time to time, and they qualify then to get into the big schools with the big programs.
Well, an ACT score of what?
Well, they get whatever the requirement is. If it's 25, they make 25. Because, see, they have individual tutors. They have the top students at these big universities that are assigned to football and basketball players, and they individually tutor those young people. And if you wink your eye, sometimes you don't know when they took the test. You ask the student, when did you take your ACT test? I don't know. That's all I'm going to say about it. But he has 25, 26, 23, whatever, A's, B's, and C's. And if you look at his record at his other school, he had D's, F's, and C's.
And they make him get in a position where he can pass to go to those schools.
That's exactly right.
But it's the economics that follow. See, when Deion put 60,000 fans in the stadium on 3 occasions this past season, over $30 million hit the economy. $30 million hit the economy. Now, black folk didn't benefit from it, not yet, but it put $30 million in the economy. When he brought the young man coming in as the national #1 recruit in the world, coming into Jackson State University, he's going to put $60 million in the stadium. He's going to put, 60,000 in the stadium. He's going to put $60 million in the economy. Black folks won't benefit from it for a while, because right after Deion put 60,000 in the stadium against Alcorn State University, a white firm had the contract to clean the stadium up after the game. The economy bypassed us, Doc, even though our kids were in the stadium. Doc, let's take this call. Caller, you're on the air.
Hello, I'm on air.
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, Mr. Henderson and Socrates, I'm listening to you, and you're exactly right. Now, I heard Deion Sanders say, I think another thing that he said as well is that he had to get rid of some people. He get rid of some nice people. They just wasn't capable. And so I think you're exactly right. I just want to say that.
Well, thank you, caller. I heard him say that as well. And caller, I think it applies to leadership. Deion is an example of what leadership does. I saw it happen down at Alcorn State University when Hobson went down there for a failing program. Turned it around in 2 years and had a championship team.
Listen, let me tell you what I've been teaching for years. Anyone can start changing his life, his status, his family, his community in 36 to 90 days if they have what Mr. Sanders had. He had a prioritized corrective action plan with goals and objectives and a timeline, and he said, we are going to do 2 or 3 things when he made his proposal to that team at Jackson State University. And they believed him, and I believe his motto was something like, we believe, or something like that.
I believe. Yeah.
I believe. So when you have a prioritized corrective action plan with an agenda, you're going to have to get some good managers to promote your program, and that's why sometimes you have to get rid of people. That's why I told you before, you have to get rid of some of these politicians, some of these preachers. Get people that can focus on the change that you present, and look what's happening. Got one of the best football players in America. Other parents are going to send their kids there. But now with the special interest groups, they're getting scared. So what they're going to do, and they've probably already done it, they're going to offer Mr. Sanders probably $100 million for a 5 or 6 year contract and give him many coaches he wants, a helicopter, a private plane, and a mansion, and fringe benefits that'll take care of him and his family for the rest of their lives and for the next 3 generations. That's what you find people doing when they want to corrupt something that is making progress.
So they take our leaders out. We finally get leadership, an example of it, and then we lose the leadership because of the orchestrated attack to take the leaders away from African American institutions.
That's the design. That's the plan. I told you before. That's what they did during the civil rights movement. All the leaders that they couldn't brainwash and pay to do what they're supposed to do, they killed them. And the few that they didn't want to kill, since they didn't want to kill all of them, they gave them government and state jobs and paid them well, and they moved on away from the black community. And then they had a few on the sideline that they paid as community leaders. So when Socrates and his folks got upset in Jackson, Mississippi, and you start talking about demonstrating and fighting against the politicians, you better not do it, because they're going to send that leader down, and he's going to calm your folks down, and he or she will get on that plane and go back to Chicago or Philadelphia or whatever and maintain the status quo. I've been teaching this for years. That's the way it's done.
Senator John Horn said black folk are out white folk in the white folk. Think about it. Black folk are out white folk in the white folk. Simply said that we now are our own worst enemy. Our leaders are betraying us. They have failed us. It's obvious. We got to make a change. We got to figure this out. We got to come together. We're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi. We're going to take a station break, and we'll be right back after this commercial.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
We're broadcasting live right here in Jackson, Mississippi from an African-American-owned broadcast studio. We have a sister relationship with WMPR radio station. We're broadcasting live on WMPR this evening. WMPR has been a staple in the community for as long as I can remember. Charles Evers did a wonderful job of fighting this fight and bringing us to a point and keeping the black agenda in front of everybody, keeping us focused on what we need to be doing and what we need to be working for. And it just breaks my heart to see the kind of leadership that we have here today, when they'll fight with one another over who's going to be chairman or vice chairman of an organization, but they won't fight over who is going to have the economics benefit from the dollars that black folks send down there. They won't fight about that. They'll fight over some personal agendas and idiosyncrasies, but they won't fight for us in the community. African American contractors are dying on the vine. We don't see our folk working. When I saw Medgar Evers, as beautiful as our highway as it is, and I want to thank Willie Simmons, the commissioner of MDOT, for the dollars that he put in that project, but white folk did that work. I'm sick and tired of, as Fannie Lou Hamer said, I'm sick and tired of white folk coming in our community, taking all of the dollars out of our community back to their bedroom communities where everything looks so wonderful. And over here in South Jackson, it looks like a war zone. Young men walking the streets with AK-47 and Uzis in the broad open daylight with their pants below their behind. They have no hope, they have no future, they have no vision, they have no concern, and they will hurt you. We have over 150 murders in this city already this year, and that number is going to continue to climb until the leadership, you asked for this job. We did not come to your door and knock on the door and ask you to come take the job. You came to us and you asked for the job. You said you could make a difference. Well, you're not making a difference. We're losing ground. Doc, I hate to keep sounding this alarm, but you said that we got 9 years or less
That's right.
to fix this.
Now let me tell you how.
Go ahead.
You can't do it with the current politicians. You can't do it with the current preachers. And you can't do it with the current corporate leaders. All black folks have to do in their individual communities where they are is recruit, train, select, and put young people from the ages of 10 to 25 or 30 in positions of responsibility, starting first in the church and then the community. And in 5, 7, or 9 years, since we don't have but 9 years, these things will start changing. You have new people that's been trained by people that have interest in their communities.
Hold your thought right there, Doc. Let's take this call. Caller, you on the air.
Dr. Henderson,
Yes, sir.
were you supposed to be at the Mississippi State Capitol today?
Well, I thought about it, Mr. Jones, and I'll tell you why I didn't show up today. And
Look, that's fine. That's not a problem. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't off track.
No, you were on track.
But look, Mr. Garrett, thank you and Dr. Henderson both for being leaders in the community, pioneers. We made a request of one of our state representatives, Mr. DeKeitha Stamps, to host a meeting at the state capitol about the homicides in Jackson. And today we had a group of young males, all males, matter of fact, that showed up at the Mississippi State Capitol to bring and raise our concerns about the loss of life here in Jackson. That's the first thing. The second thing is, Mr. Garrett, we requested for a room to be reserved once a month at the Capitol where the community can come and bring issues from the community that we're concerned, that we believe our legislators need to address. We cannot be silent in our community any longer with over $4 billion in the coffers of the state of Mississippi, and our community, like you said earlier, looking like a third world country. We're not going to be able to change what's going on in Jackson without capital, without resources. And that's only going to come from the government funding through contracts, Mr. Garrett. You familiar with that. But it's also going to require black people, African-American people, to come together and begin to require those that's in leadership positions, and I'm talking about our Caucasian leaders, to look at the issues going on in our community. We cannot let them lead the Capitol this year like they've been doing, and the resources not go to certain zip codes in the state of Mississippi. So thank you all for taking this. And let me say this. We had 2 young males that was there today, Mr. Garrett, that had committed murder, did their time in prison, and was not able to find employment. And a young man with the Better Men Society has given them young men a job, and they're doing what they're supposed to do. So we got an example of what can happen in our community when young men have made mistakes, but more importantly, we need to do what Dr. Henderson did tonight. And one of the young men that was with us, Dr. Henderson, made a commitment to give a scholarship to. That's really where we need to start investing our dollars before these young men become criminals. Thank you, Mr. Garrett, for what you're doing, for your commitment and your partnership with WMPR. Let's move forward. Mississippi, we arrive again. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank you for all the work that you do as well.
I want to answer Mr. Jones' question. He asked why you didn't show up at the Capitol. I tell all people, whenever you talk to a politician, you don't go to a meeting with a politician or a preacher or a corporate leader to talk to them about problems. You have to go to these folks with a proposal in writing asking for $100 million to solve this problem. You don't need to talk about it. Hell, everybody knows what the problems are. Say, this is a plan to correct this problem. for these guys that's been in prison, for these parents that need economic support, for these young businessmen that need to learn business principles, budgeting, and how to read that liability sheet and the assets sheet that they are dealing with. That's what you do. I don't waste no time going to meetings anymore talking to politicians and preachers unless I have a proposal in writing saying we need so many $100,000 or $1 million here or there to do something in this specific community for so many hundred people, starting date and end date, to make things happen.
Caller, you on air.
Hey, how you all doing? I'm enjoying the show this evening, Brother Willie. I just got a big question I always ask all the time here. How can we get our leadership, or how can we get good leadership in the city and the county and the state of Mississippi when we can't get, if we got 160,000 registered voters in the county and can't get 29,000 to go out there and vote? How can we get these people to see what is it going to take to get what we need if they don't go vote?
Caller, you got to understand that they have lost hope. And it's going to take an inspiring leader, someone that can bring hope to them to get them to come back out and try again. I can tell you this, caller, if you put a flea in a jar and put a lid on it, he will jump trying to get out of the jar, and he'll bump his head on the lid for several times, but eventually he will jump, but he won't jump high enough to bump his head. You can take the lid off and he won't jump out. Our people have been beat down and the quality of life is so bad until they protest in that. But now, caller, let me tell you, a charismatic person, a leader with real leadership skills that can implement those things that Dr. Henderson said was required, have a plan, be able to articulate that plan, and get people to believe in you, can make a change. I believe that Deion Sanders proved that to us with the football program. Football program is just a business. It's just like a city. It's just like a county. It's just another business. Leadership can make a difference. Doc?
Well, I want to tell Mr. Willie that the same 15 or 17% that are putting these current politicians in office and not getting good results, with community organizations and neighborhood associations and business groups like the Beautician Association, the Funeral Home Association, getting together and organizing voter education campaigns, selecting their own candidates and voting for them, they can get the best politician in with the same amount of vote, 10, 15, or 17, or 23%. But they be new voters. If you have them old mosquitoes that can't jump out of the jar and the top is gone, you have to forget about those. Recruit new voters, starting in the high schools, get into colleges, and work with young professionals and get those people to vote, because most of them are not voting. Get a new group of 15 or 17%. Run your own candidates, regardless of party. Too many black people stuck up on these doggone Democrats. They hate the Republicans, so you have to vote for the person who's going to carry out your issues, whether he's a communist or whoever he or she is.
So our time is running out.
Where, well, go, Mr. Willie. You can do it with what you got, where you are. Keep that in mind.
You have a final comment, Mr. Willie?
I just want to say this right here. I don't even lose hope. Even Jesse Jackson said, don't lose hope. I don't care what kind of rope you have. If your rope is about to break, do not lose hope. You got to have hope on anything before you can do anything. You can't give up, people.
Thank you so much, caller, for that encouragement. It's been a great show, as always, Dr. Henderson. I look forward to listening to your show tomorrow evening on WMPR. People, let's make this work. Let's come together. Good night.
Mr. Garrett, I don't want you to listen. I want you to come on the show tomorrow night.
I'm Socrates Garrett, and we're broadcasting live from right here in Jackson, Mississippi, the heart of the Deep South, right here an African-American owned broadcasting studio. We believe digital.com our own platform. And so it's critically important that in the African-American community, we control the narrative. I look forward to receiving opportunities to show and advertise your products for goods and services and to move your brand along in this community. We're broadcasting live on Facebook. When We Believe Digital Podcast, go to Roku and download our app, and We Believe Global, with shows like this to bring articulate, intelligent conversations and dialogue to our platform. So I'm here to continue sounding the alarm. This is how the South is going to rise again.